This is Hement.
Jessica.
And we're here for the Friendly Atheist podcast. Enough banter for now. We wanted to start with a quick announcement, which is that, for the 3 years almost, I think, that we've been doing the show, we've been asking people to go to patreon.com/HeManT. That is my personal Patreon page that I use for the website and YouTube and this podcast. And people have been really generous, which is awesome. But we're actually going to try something new, which is that we wanted to do something specifically for this podcast because we feel like we've gotten into a type of show that we both really enjoy, and it's fun for us to do. And based on the feedback, which we appreciate from you all, you seem to like it too.
Yeah.
And we'd like to keep that going. But one of the things that happens on my Patreon page is that I don't really know if people who are donating are giving it because they like the website or YouTube or this podcast. And it's kind of hard to tell which thing people appreciate. Maybe it's all of it. That's nice.
None of it.
Or none of it.
And they made a terrible mistake.
I haven't discounted that. So here's what we're asking you to do. We set up a new Patreon page specifically for this podcast. It is patreon.com/friendly atheist podcast. And we're asking you to give to there for, I think if you give $1, you'll get early episodes of the show. There are more rewards after that. And if you are kind enough to be giving to my personal page already because you like the show, I am totally giving you permission to stop giving to me if this podcast is all you care about. You don't have to give to me. You can cancel whatever you give to my personal page and give it instead to the Friendly Atheist podcast.
Give Jess a slice of that
page.
pie.
Yeah, and it'll be easier for us to kind of manage how we're doing this show, what's working, what's not, getting feedback from people. So we would really appreciate that. It's something we're trying. The page is live now. So again, patreon.com/friendly atheist podcast. And you know what? The cool part about that is if people are doing that, we don't have to even try to do weird advertising and try to sell you weird stuff besides ourselves.
Yeah.
Which sounds wrong, but
yeah,
there you go.
Crazy about that way you phrased it.
That's one of the higher rewards.
Yeah, we the last few, really since we started doing these regularly, which is kind of since I moved nearer to you because I used to live an hour and a half away. We've been getting so much feedback, and most of it is fairly nice. Yeah. I will softly categorize it, and it's been fun getting a couple of emails a day from people and tweets, and somebody made a drinking game about our podcast. And by that, I definitely mean it's shit I do.
We're both pissed drunk right now. That is how it works.
No, okay. I feel like I do need to denote, because alcohol has for some reason become part of this podcast. We're recording at my house today. So we're drinking I didn't bring a juice box of wine for us. So
this is like actual bottled wine.
Yeah, with a glass bottle and everything at a corky
it's fancy.
Cork. Yeah, it is. It's Boggle or Bogle, and I'm not sure which, but I really like it.
Right.
Would recommend.
It's good.
I
took one sip. It tastes like wine. They all taste the same to me.
It's fine.
All right.
Okay.
There's a bunch of stuff going on that we really wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's Friday night.
It is Friday night.
We record Thursdays.
Yeah. Which means there's even more shit to talk about.
There's so much to talk about.
All right.
Are we going to talk about the healthcare thing?
Kind of,
okay.
I think. Not as much the healthcare. I had an issue with something else Trump did that didn't get enough attention because of the healthcare stuff. Let me talk about that because he signed an executive order.
Johnson?
Yeah, he signed an executive order, Trump did, on Thursday morning. And just to lay out, if you're new to the what the hell's going on here, there is a thing in the law signed in the 1950s called the Johnson Amendment. And basically what it says is nonprofit groups cannot endorse political candidates for office. That applies to churches, yes. It applies to Planned Parenthood, the NRA. It applies to the ACLU, any nonprofit group. They cannot say, hey, members, you have to vote for this group. Now, how do you get around that? If you're like the NRA and you totally support one candidate, or the ACLU and you support another.
Wait, the NRA is a nonprofit?
Yeah.
What noble
they all
people.
have separate maybe political wings that are legal, but no, they're nonprofits. So what do you do if you're these groups? There's a couple of ways you could kind of push your members legally to do something. You could say, hey, on this issue that we care about, here's what the candidates have said.
Right.
You could say the Secular Coalition for America, for example, does this. They say, here are 7 bills that matter to our members, church-state separation bills. Here's how every member of Congress voted, and here's the results. Hey, look, Democrats did really well.
Or they'll grade somebody.
Yes.
So, like, Democrats are always touting about how, like, I got an F from the NRA because it's a sort of point of pride.
Right. Or they love their A's. Yeah. And so this is what they do. I mean, and that's fine, and that's legal. And churches do this all the time, obviously.
Like tap dance around. It's not like following the nature of the law by any stretch. It's following the letter of the law.
You're right. It's tap dancing around it. And how do churches deal with this? If you're like an evangelical megachurch, you say things like, this is the pro-homosexuality candidate, and that's horrible. And this one likes abortion and killing all the babies.
When are they going to drop the pro-homosexual thing? Like, they lost. Although, okay, wait.
The longer they keep up being anti-gay, I feel like, as horrible as that is, that just makes our case easier.
I have a thing that just made a liar out of me. So finish.
Okay,
let's finish being.
So anyway, that's the Johnson Amendment. It says you can't endorse a candidate if you want to tap dance around it. Go ahead, but you can't endorse them.
But and that's to be fair, not to be specific. It's you don't get tax breaks if you endorse a candidate.
Right. So, nonprofits get a tax exemption. The rule is if you break that rule and you endorse a candidate.
Right.
The IRS could say, fine, you don't get a tax exemption.
They can do whatever they want. They just have to play by the rules.
Right. If you want to endorse a candidate, go ahead, but then start paying some taxes. And I think in the past 20 years, one church that literally took out a full-page newspaper ad that said, vote for this candidate. Like they did not.
Because they're taunting the IRS.
Pretty right. This wasn't even part of the taunting. This is just they took out an ad saying, go vote for this guy. And people were like, you can't do that. And the IRS said, yeah, you can't, that we can't even try to pretend you didn't break the law. They took away their tax exemption one time. Since then, Jessica brings up the point that a lot of churches have tried to taunt the IRS. They have something called Pulpit Freedom Sunday, where they try to endorse candidates on stage in the hopes that the IRS will come after them because they want to fight this in court because they say, no, we have free speech. We can do whatever we want on stage. You can't take away our tax exemptions.
That's not how free speech works.
And the IRS hasn't given them that ammo,
right?
Which is frustrating. You would think the IRS would come after some of these churches. They haven't.
Well, yeah, that is very surprising.
Out of laziness, out of I don't know why.
I mean,
if I had to
wager, I guess it probably is an acute look for the IRS to be gunning after a church.
Yeah, it's not good politics. I
think. In reality, it would be a very savvy move, but I think the front page, IRS suing Catholic Church,
right? That's going to be tough for the IRS.
The IRS doesn't have a great PR presence anyway, so I think they're just doing the best they can.
Yeah, and I think John Oliver did a piece on this a year or two ago, where the IRS is severely understaffed too, so they have their priorities. It's probably
the US
not.
Government is understaffed.
It's not one of their priorities. Freedom from Religion Foundation actually sued the IRS saying, you got to start going after these churches that are breaking the law.
Right.
And basically that whole lawsuit resulted in the IRS saying, look, let's just settle this. We promise we'll go after them in the future. And if you're still unsatisfied, you can go ahead and sue us again. That's where they left it off a few years ago.
That's literally the legal equivalent of can you guys be chill? That's
pretty much.
They did.
That is pretty much it. So that's where we were at.
Yeah.
And now Donald Trump said, he campaigned on this. He said he's been going to do it since he got into office. He said, I will repeal the Johnson Amendment so that churches can endorse candidates.
Not the hero we deserve. He's the hero we need.
He's wearing a cape and everything. And here's the thing. He can't repeal the Johnson Amendment. That's a law that takes Congress to do.
I mean, I will say Donald Trump has time and again presented the fact that he does not understand how the government works.
Yeah, so he keeps saying, I'll repeal. You can't do that.
Can I tell you my dream? My utter dream is him being at a press conference or something with microphones and a camera and somebody just asking him hey Trump, how does a bill become a law? Or something really basic civics like that. I live for that moment.
Why did they start the Civil War? You can do it.
No, but every debate between him and Hillary, every debate, I was like, this is the time that somebody's going to be like, hey dude, How does the House of Representatives work? How many people
members are in Congress? Yeah, he would fail.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
So Trump
That's
can't
just my private
repeal
dream.
it, but he said, I'm going to sign an executive order. That's what he did Thursday. And this is kind of like out of nowhere. This came with like very little announcement ahead of time.
Right.
But it was kind of freaky.
They're
like,
pretty
what's he
busy
going to say?
aggressively trying to murder people that day
Yes.
also. So.
They were, and this is while healthcare is going on. So yeah, all this debate's going on. He signs the bill on Thursday on the National Day of Reason, when all those conservative Christians love
National
to
Day of
pray.
Prayer.
I'm sorry, National Day of Prayer.
I was like, that's
the atheist counter with the National Day of
The
Reason.
opposite of that.
He signs this bill. Here's the thing. So that sounds kind of scary.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the religious right, I mean, they surrounded him at the signing because he loves his photo ops.
Wait, question. Just important question. I did not see this photo. Over, under 3 women or people of color.
Ben Carson, I believe, was in the mix because I know Trump referenced him.
Yeah. He name checked a black person? I
name-checked.
can't believe it. I can't believe it. I won't hear of it.
He also mentioned the Little Sisters of the Poor, the Catholic nuns group that fought the Hobby Lobby. Like, we don't want to sign the paperwork because that allows people to get birth control.
Yep.
They were there. So if the nuns count, they were there.
They can count.
But it was
Were they in
a
the photo
photo op. I think so. It was the photo op with the religious right. They seemed very happy on that stage that this guy was finally signing their thing.
But there's consequences, right? Because I think we talked about this last episode.
Yeah.
I may have forgotten most of it, as I want to do, because I black out. I don't black out, you guys. That's a joke. But there's repercussions, right? Like, this isn't... It's the same way protection of church and state really does protect both church and the state. This is going to likely have negative repercussions, yeah?
Like, if he could actually repeal it, would it have
Sure.
repercussions?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And here's the problem that a lot of religious groups don't want this to happen.
Yeah, we covered this on the
And
last
what they
episode. I'm
said-
sorry, I don't remember what I say.
That's
What do
okay.
you say?
What they basically argue is that if you let our churches become like political endorsements...
Oh, that's it. That's the ballgame. That's all we do.
That's all we're going to end up doing.
Especially
It'll become an easy way to
election years.
funnel money into campaigns, too, because churches don't have to report who's giving them money. They just pass around the collection plate.
Oh, fuck.
What if someone's like, here's a check for gazillions of dollars for the candidate? Like, they don't want to do that in church at some of these churches.
Anti-homosexual candidate?
Oh, yeah.
So brave.
So a lot of churches are opposed to this too. But here's the amazing thing. Trump signs this. Religious right people in the photo op love this. Afterwards, a lot of conservative people started saying, what the hell did you just sign?
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to
Wait,
quote here.
is there a chance that Trump did not read what he signed?
Oh, there's a very good chance he didn't read it.
Or
but even if it had
comprehend it.
said what he said it would do, like, that wouldn't have been any
Super
different.
quick sidebar.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the conspiracy theory that Donald Trump can't read?
Yes. Hilarious.
It
Sam
brings
B.
me... I've heard it from many places, but if you guys don't know, there's... Because if one has heard Donald Trump speak, you know he isn't reading from teleprompter most of the time. What do you call it when it's off the cuff?
Ad-libbing and stuff?
No, not
No,
ad-libbing.
you mean what? The
like
teleprompter?
the fancy way to say that you're making shit up as you go along.
Oh, yeah, ad-libbing.
It's not. It's
What?
like
Nope. I don't know.
Hammond, you're a speech guy. That's like all you do.
Improvise?
Whatever.
Whatever.
You're useless to me.
I'm sorry.
He just says words that come into his mind, whether they make sense or not, or are English or not.
Gibberish.
Just garbage gibberish. But so there's this theory that like he straight up can't read, and that's why all of his speeches sound like a third grader, like pretending to run for
They
president.
all just go on tangents. They make
my
no
God.
sense. Yeah.
It's I just listening to him. Did you read the interview with him and shit? Who was it? Somebody he an interview this
Yeah.
week when he talked about things that he didn't understand. Is this helpful or not, or is that just
He
every
was on
interview?
Face the Nation on Sunday talking with their host,
Yeah,
John Dickerson.
The one that yes, it was John. That's not the one I'm thinking of, but yeah. And the answers he gave were, and it's really ironic that I'm criticizing his talking while I am like rambling the way I am right now. I hear it, guys. You don't need to tweet at me. But just, I'm also not the president, thank God. But just the way he fucking like rambles and says not, like this isn't a hot take. We all know this, but like, fuck, why? How?
He's not coherent.
He isn't. He barely, he can't complete a thought.
You have to wonder if he has a speechwriter. Because I know he does on
He
staff
must.
somewhere.
Well, I mean, you've heard, you can. The thing is, you can definitely hear when he's reading.
Yeah.
Or
I would love to see the look.
Conspiracy theory has a thing in his ear and he's just repeating it because he can't read and he's upstairs.
I would love to see the reaction on the speechwriter's face when he goes off script and just starts rambling.
Oh
that would be beautiful. Like, stick to the words I wrote for you.
Terrific.
So, conservatives, some of them, he signs this bill.
Yeah.
Then here's some of the reactions. Columnist David French, who writes for the National Review, quote, this is, quote, total weak sauce and a sop to the gullible. Russell Moore, the head of the Southern Baptist Convention. I'm hoping that the draft we're seeing this morning is not the entire project and that more will be forthcoming.
Oh, no.
Ryan Anderson from the Heritage Foundation, huge think tank for the conservative movement. He called the new order, quote, woefully inadequate. All of these people. So why? What was it about this particular executive order that they didn't like?
It was a piece of garbage.
Why was it a piece of garbage?
I don't know.
Because it didn't say much of anything. It didn't say you can go ahead and do whatever the hell you want.
So what did it actually do?
It basically said, hey, IRS, don't go after churches if they're doing the things that other nonprofits do all the time. But other nonprofits don't promote candidates.
I didn't realize he specifically isolated churches.
Oh yeah. He specifically...
I don't know why I'm surprised by that.
I'm going to read you the executive order itself, parts of it, because it's wordy. The Department of the Treasury, blah, 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 does not take any adverse action against any individual, house of worship, or other religious organization on the basis that such individual or organization speaks or has spoken about moral or political issues from a religious perspective, where speech of similar character, blah, 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 blah. If you're talking about stuff from your faith perspective, IRS, don't go after them, is basically what he's saying.
God,
but you know what?
Love to be protected.
They haven't been going after them anyway.
It's purely symbolic.
Didn't do anything. Okay, so a couple things about this. One, didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It didn't really give a gift to the religious rights that they didn't have before.
Feels like a metaphor for, like, the last 4 months.
Yeah,
right?
he's not living up to the promises he made, even to them. But here's the beautiful...
Did you hear Sean Spicer get in a fight about whether something was a fence or a wall? It was excellent.
Oh my God, yes.
It was so excellent.
Even the reporters are like, really? That's the thing you put up? That's your scary little fence?
I'm sorry, go ahead. I just love to see the unraveling.
After Trump signs this, the ACLU, which was all, like, you could tell they were just waiting to file the lawsuit like they did with the Muslim ban.
Yes.
As soon as you sign it, we have a lawsuit ready to go. You know what I mean?
This is the moment we've been practicing
yes.
for.
ACLU waits to see all this. They read the executive order and they put out a statement, the ACLU. Today's executive order signing was an elaborate photo op with no discernible policy outcome.
Oh, shit.
After careful review of the order's text, we have determined that the order does not meaningfully alter the ability of religious institutions or individuals to intervene in the political process. So we ain't doing shit because this order doesn't do anything. That's the ACLU.
Such an excellent, just took them down at the knees.
Yeah.
Because they're so impotent. They're so impotent.
Yeah, the ACLU was like, we're waiting for you to do this thing that you've been saying that is totally illegal because we're going to pounce on you. And then they're like, no, you didn't really do anything,
this
did you?
This isn't even worth our paper that we wrote this on.
Then the Freedom from Religion Foundation is looking at this thing. And they're like, well, he did sign the executive order that really, at least in theory, gives churches this special privilege to do these things. Now, the order does not say so.
Because it isolates...
It isolates churches saying you get to do this special thing. IRS shouldn't come after you if you do these things. But it said specifically religious organizations. So FFRF says, well, that doesn't apply to us.
Guys?
We're a nonprofit.
Yeah.
We cater to atheists, but this executive order does not apply to us. We can't endorse candidates still. But now churches can, according to everything Trump said, and they quoted all the things he said, and then they filed a lawsuit saying, we don't care what your executive order does. It more or less says this is what you mean by it, and that is discriminatory against atheists. So they're filing a lawsuit. saying it's unconstitutional.
So somebody's getting sued.
Somebody's getting sued. Yeah, FFRF is suing them. So that's one thing. So this order that the religious right, some of them think it's great. Some of them think it's totally impotent and doesn't do anything. The ACLU says it doesn't do anything.
Right.
FFRF says, well, we don't, on paper, we guess it doesn't do anything. But based on all your statements, the meaning of this and the wording of the order, it privileges churches.
Yeah.
You can't do that. We're suing you over that.
Hammond. The Christian church is the most persecuted body in this country, and you know that. You know that. Look what we're doing right now. We're being mean to them.
Well, you should let the Christian out of your cage back there.
She's not in there. I got a puppy. I can't believe it's taken me so long to mention her. Her name is Dottie Hanson, and she's perfect, and I love her.
Wait, she has a last name?
Yeah, Dottie Hanson.
Do other people do this with dogs?
Hammond, is this going to be another thing that you don't know the reference?
No.
Guys, drink. You've seen A League of Their Own, yeah?
No.
Hammond!
It's the baseball movie.
It's the best sports movie that's ever happened. Come at me, guys. It's the best sports movie that's ever happened. It's the Gina Davis character. She's the catcher. And Hammond!
Tell me about these movies you speak
You're
of.
such an asshole. Anyway, her name is Dottie Hinson.
Nice.
I want to name her Marla Hooch, which is another character. Why do we do this podcast? You don't know anything.
I have no idea what
Somebody
you're talking
out there thought Marla Hooch was a really cute name. Thank you, person who's out there who thinks it's a cute name. I was really pushing it for it. I kind of want to name her Marla Pooch because it's a pun.
Nice.
Her name is Dottie Henson.
You'll have to wait for the second dog.
Oh, I can't wait to get a second dog. She's 5 months old. She's perfect. If you follow my Twitter or Instagram, they're at Blueberry, BLUEBURIE is my Twitter.
Yep. That's right.
And it's BLUEBURY and Instagram.
Oh my God.
Listen.
Come on.
Okay. I started this 8 years ago. I didn't realize anybody would ever give a shit. So this is all really fresh and new. Anyway, follow those things if you want to see a picture of my adorable fucking puppy. She loves to watch movies. She and Mikey watched Return of the Jedi last night. It was adorable.
Return of the Jedi.
Are you fucking with me?
I know it's Star Wars. I haven't seen it.
It's fine. The writing is so bad in those movies. Come at me again, guys. So bad. Sorry, did I sidebar us real hard?
No, it's all good. Trump actually screwed up another way while signing the executive order,
Did he spell his name wrong?
I would not be surprised. While he was giving his speech before signing the executive order, I'm going to quote him on this because this was written out for him, so it actually is coherent. Here's what he says. He's talking about the ways Christians are being persecuted and how this executive order is going to unshackle them from being persecuted, right? As just one example of Christians being persecuted, people were forbidden from giving or receiving religious items at a military hospital where our brave service members were being treated and when they wanted these religious items. These were great, great people. They are great soldiers. They wanted those items. They were precluded from getting them. First of all, he said the word precluded. I was impressed.
Did he say it correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. What actually happened?
I like how you know where these stories are going.
Listen, this is not my first rodeo.
These soldiers in the VA, they want Bibles. They can't get them.
You know what? I'm mad on their behalf. Donald Trump is right. We're not respecting our soldiers enough. Give them all Bibles.
To which the Pentagon says, there's no policy like that.
The Pentagon?
The Pentagon officials, that kind of oversaw this or whatever, I guess. But the Pentagon said we have no policy that prohibits members of the military from getting religious items. Here's what basically happened years ago. There was a rule. There were Muslim soldiers. There were atheist soldiers in the VA hospitals.
No, that's not true because there's no atheists.
No atheists. Sorry. But the religious soldiers who are not Christian, clearly, chaplains were walking into their rooms giving them Bibles. And they're like, I don't want this.
Shoo.
Yeah, just leave my room.
Maybe this isn't the appropriate place for this.
Yeah. So the VA basically, the military instituted a rule that said, look, you can't go in if they don't want you there.
Maybe don't proselytize in a hospital.
Yeah. They're like, look, if you're a Christian soldier and you want the chaplain to come in, cool. If you want to get a Bible from them, fine. No problem with. If your family or strangers want to send you that stuff, also totally fine. But the way they worded strangers, I mean, if you want to send it, all right.
Inviting trouble.
But basically, don't proselytize if no one asked for it.
Yeah.
That's what their
Isn't
rule
the point of proselytization is nobody ever asks for it?
Yeah, that's fair
it's
point.
like the definition of it.
But like at the VA where we have some control, don't do that.
Sure.
So That's what the rule said. But the way it was worded, it made it sound like, oh, you just banned all Bibles. That's not true. And the military said, all right, we'll change the wording of this so it's less ambiguous. But that's it. They changed the wording, and then it was clear. This is only about if you don't want it, please don't go into their room and give it to them.
Yeah.
So Trump takes that story and says the Bibles are banned in the military.
I think he got to the heart of it. I think he really got into that one.
It's just, he screws up all this stuff, claiming that religions are being persecuted.
All he does is screw things up.
This, to me, is the biggest story of the week. Because it's just the executive order. It's this thing that he said was going to be this gift to the religious right. He's been saying it for years. It's not. And even in the process of doing that, he managed to piss off the Pentagon, lied about them. Got a lawsuit from the Freedom from Religion Foundation, pissed off the ACLU to the point where they're just like, you didn't do shit for the religious right. And pissed off the religious right, who's like, you didn't do anything for us.
That's
impressive.
I think the best summation of like Donald Trump presidency is when he congratulated the guy for getting the Purple Heart. Like, to me, honestly, like, and it was tragic and comical, but like it just summed everything up because he like does the things that he thinks a president is supposed to do, but clearly does them on the most surface level possible. So he doesn't like. So
he sees a Purple Heart recipient, says, I got to congratulate this guy.
Well, he sees, I'm giving this person something shiny.
Yeah.
They did something good. Congratulations. Terrific. Which he earned terrific. Like, that was a perfectly nice adjective.
Tremendous. All the superlatives.
I feel like there's a lot of superlatives that I hear people say, and I'm like, it's ruined. It's done. I can't anymore. Anyway, I have a thing.
Yes.
Can I go, or do you have more things?
Yeah. No. I have more things.
Yeah. So, an Alabama governor signed a bill into law. Have you heard of this story?
Of course I've heard of this story.
Okay, one of these days I'm going to bring something to you that you don't know. So, did you write it down? Were you going to talk about
No,
it?
it's not on my list.
I'm contributing.
Nice.
Signs a bill into law that would allow adoption agencies to, and this is the technical way, to adhere to faith-based policies, and those would generally disqualify gay couples from adopting because it's 2017, and the problem is there's not enough babies to be had. Everybody's like, oh, we've got all these, like, there's...
Yeah. It's the new governor, too. The last one was the religious right guy who had an affair, big scandal, stepped down from office.
Wait. Somebody who claims the moral high ground had an affair? I won't hear of it.
It happens.
Not in my house.
She took over. One of the first bills she signed is like, fuck you, gay people. Which makes no sense because it's like you're talking to the religious right. These are people that are so anti-abortion. Mm-hmm. Here you have gay couples saying, "Oh, we'll adopt kids.
We'll adopt your leftovers.
Yeah,
we'll take them.
We want them. We love them. We want to take them
my dog.
in." Did you really? Yes, you did. You
of course
adopted
I adopted
the dog.
my dog.
I always wondered. No, I don't know enough about pets to know like all the different ways of getting them because I know sometimes they're.
It involved like a million hours on Pet Finder.
Did it really?
Didn't. I mean, only because I am a little obsessive, and that's what I do most of my day. But also, I have allergies to dog. Like, I have a mild dog allergy, so I needed a dog that was kind of a wire-haired situation, and so that took a lot more. So I couldn't just like go to the Naperville Humane Society and pick up like a pit bull, which is probably what we would have done because
you got to make sure it fits all of the criteria there.
And she's so goddamn cute.
She is cute. I saw her.
Yeah.
Thank
you for verifying that.
I'm happy to verify that one. But you have gay couples who want to adopt these kids and take them in and love them. Why would you, as a religious right people, say no to that?
No, and I think...
I know why, but it makes no sense.
No, and it's stuff like this, and sometimes I feel like we sound like a broken record, but it's just like this sort of, they want this moral high ground, but really just need to go through the gestures to do... My husband and I had a really, he came up with a really good metaphor of, so we were talking, there's a listener, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but he has been tweeting at us because he listens with his family, and I was like, sir, please don't do that, I'm breaking your kids, because I swear a lot. Hey, new listeners, all I do is swear. But... So I was talking to my husband about, like, it gave me anxiety. Like, children shouldn't listen to my garbage. And he made an interesting point about, like, well, isn't it better that they hear swearing, but, like, genuine things and things that are, to be good.
Are worthy of
as
it?
opposed to that sort of very stereotypical, like, Christian suburban white people front of like, I say words that sound nice, but my actions are shitty, and what I actually mean is shitty, but I don't say the word shitty, so like I have the moral high ground on it. It's this very like
gay people don't deserve to have equal rights with a smile on my face versus fuck these anti-gay bigots.
But they don't say gay people don't deserve to have rights. It's we think children deserve to have a mom and a dad.
Right,
and they like kind of sugarcoat it in this way of they make it sound good, but it's vitriol. It's poison that they're saying, but they say it with a smile, and it's like a pretty blonde lady, and she seems...
There is a wonderful Patton Oswalt bit that is exactly about that.
Yeah.
I can't remember the title, but it was in his recent special. It was really funny.
I haven't seen his recent special.
Saying something pleasant in a nice way, but when you're speaking poison, don't fall for that.
Right.
Versus the one who doesn't talk well or uses swears or whatever, but says something sensible.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that I'm the sensible person in this particular table, but yeah, like I do swear a lot, and I'm not going to apologize for it, but like I'm not disparaging entire groups of people. Yeah. So the quote from this governor, Governor Ivey, I don't have his or her first name.
Kay, I think.
Kay Ivey?
Yeah. Got it.
So she?
Yeah, she.
What she said was, I ultimately signed House Bill 24 because it ensures hundreds of children can continue to find, quote, forever homes, which is something they say about puppies, forever homes through religiously affiliated adoption agencies. This bill is not about discrimination, but instead protects the ability of religious agencies to place vulnerable children in a permanent home. So she's doing exactly that, right? She's framing it in a way of, no, well, if we let gay people adopt, then children will die, I guess. Is kind of her thing.
Well, and she's right to say that most adoption agencies are religiously affiliated, and they do get federal money in some cases, and state money to do the work they're doing, which is important. But when you're giving them that money and you're saying, let them pick and choose what the qualifications are and they can discriminate.
Yeah.
But I also wonder, like, okay, they're allowed to say no to gay couples.
Where do you draw the line?
What about divorced couples? What about single parents? They don't say no to them.
Interracial couples.
Yeah, they don't say no to those other groups, even though there could be a biblical justification for that stuff.
Yeah,
so they're hypocrites on that front. And by the way, when Obama said you can't do that or something, I think some Catholic charities basically
they shuttered, right?
They shuttered. Yeah, they went out of business.
Which I have a lot of emotions about. The company I work for right now is sponsoring a breast cancer walk in Chicago on Mother's Day. That they support a hospital in South Side of Chicago called Little Company of Mary, and they have a really excellent program for women's health and breast health and all that. And I went there to meet with them because I'm in the marketing department. And I didn't realize till I walked in, which I should have known because it's called Little Company of Mary, that it's a Catholic hospital. And it's just this like interesting thing of they're doing all this good work. So I can't fault them for that. And I never would. Like, this is a good company and clearly good people are running it. But at what point, like, are there caveats? Are there asterisks next to these are the people we help and these are the people we don't? And I don't know. And everything I saw from this particular company this particular hospital was excellent. But it's weird. It's weird to have that sort of cross hanging up everywhere when you're in a hospital. It's just strange.
I need to correct something I just said.
Oh.
Just looking this up, which is a couple things.
Corner.
Most adoptions in the state of Alabama are handled by secular agencies.
No
That's one
shit,
thing.
Really?
And this is more important. The adoption agencies that get state or federal funds are not protected by the new law. So this is specifically for the religious adoption agencies that don't get federal or state money.
Oh.
They're allowed to discriminate. So
I have a hard time being mad at that.
I hope I'm not missing something else important here.
Oh, they'll let us know.
They'll let us know.
Should we start like a Friendly Atheist podcast like Twitter handle? Is that a thing we need to do? That sounds like a lot of work.
You can email us.
friendlyatheistpodcast@gmail.com.
Still principally wrong.
No, but yeah. I mean, it's whatever. They're helping. I'm not going to dog on anyone who's helping. I think it's garbage that they discriminate against gay people. But if they're not getting federal funds, who am I to say that, right? Or am I getting that wrong?
I feel like I'm missing some important aspect. I'll see if I can.
You should definitely read more while we're recording this podcast.
Had I known we were talking about this issue.
It's really compelling radio. Can I talk
Yes.
talk about another thing?
Yes.
So I looked up this story, and I almost went down a really deep rabbit hole and did an essay for this podcast. I didn't, but I was close. Texas Representative Sheila Jackson made a 1-minute impassioned plea to the GOP to appeal to their humanity vis-a-vis this garbage healthcare thing that went through, which I don't have enough intelligent shit to say about this healthcare that hasn't been said better by a million other people. So I personally don't think I have a lot to contribute. But this woman, I listened to the video, I saw the video, and it was a really beautifully impassioned. This woman cares. She cites that she herself has pre-existing conditions. She's a breast cancer survivor. So it was just her very much appealing to the basic, look at me. I would be excluded. Like, think of the people. She's appealing to their humanity. Like, hey, people are gonna fucking die. Like, perk up. And Georgia, he's a Republican. Do I need to?
What'd he say?
His name's Doug Collins. # white guy name.
Yeah.
His response, and she was like clearly very emotional.
She on the House floor doing this?
She had a picture of like a cancer patient next to her, and it was very. She kept saying something about like pray for us or like God, like was inciting religion, and it felt very pastoral, I would say. And the guys, when she ran out of time, they're banging the gavel and like, time's up. That's my white guy imitation. Yes. He said, Georgia Republican Doug Collins, quote, if I had to defend Obamacare, I'd go into hysterics too.
Oh, man.
So.
Cancer. What are you whining about?
So, yes, that is everything he did undercut her appealing to people's humanity is one thing, and I find upsetting. But guess what? I was mostly mad about the feminist angle of it, because that's sort of my whole jam. Yeah, so that was what I went down a really deep rabbit hole, is researching the history of hysteria. I only came up with like 6 bullet points, so God. I'm not going to do a speech about it. But things like this really get under my skin, because we're not that far removed as a society, and getting on my soapbox, we're not that far removed as a society of basically, I would argue that in a lot of ways we're not even moving away from it, of anytime a woman has an emotion or experiences something, we have to shut that shit down. Are you crying? Stop it. Are you in a bad mood? You're PMSing. Are you tired? Well, you can't run the free world. Like,
Mitch McConnell cries on the Senate floor at times, or John Boehner certainly cried, famous for doing it in the House.
Yeah.
No one ever said he's in hysterics.
Yeah.
It's not a word you use to describe men, usually.
I cry all of the fucking time. It's my favorite thing to do. I haven't cried at work yet, though, so I'm coming up on 2 months. Don't
the men who have emotions, they're courageous and emotional.
Oh, my God,
She's just in hysterics with her cancer.
So hysteria is a thing that when I was in college, I read a lot of, I took a few Victorian literature classes because I was really cool and wanted a great job.
Yes.
Shut up. And actually today it led me to reread a short story called The Yellow Wallpaper. Have you ever read it?
No.
I can't think of the author off the top of my head. I will look. Can you look it up while I'm talking? It's basically, diagnoses of hysteria have gone back.
Charlotte Perkins Gilman.
It is, I've probably read it 10 times. It's one of my favorite short stories. So the idea is anytime, especially in the Victorian era, and this went back centuries, one study I read said the first reference of something akin to hysteria, which is just like a woman felt a thing, dates back as far as 1900 BCE. And ancient Egyptians described it as a spontaneous movement of the uterus. So we've seen a lot of this in our history. And up until now, there's still no women's long jump ski something, because they didn't do it because they're afraid women were going to get delicate. They're too delicate and they're going to like break their uterus. As recently as the 1960s, women weren't allowed to run the marathon because they didn't think there's an episode of The Dollop, which is a podcast I really like, and it's called Jock something, and the marathon. Are you looking it up for me? Yep. And I couldn't recommend it enough because it's so alarmingly recent that it wasn't just like they didn't think women could do it. They were physically restraining women from being able to do these things because reasons.
Jock and the Boston Marathon women.
Yes. It's one of my favorite, and that's one of my favorite podcasts. It's one of my favorite episodes of that. And it's just about this man, Jock, who was part of the Boston Marathon, who was fucking obsessed with keeping women out of it. Like that was his life goal. It was he was the one, if you've seen the picture of the woman who ran the first Boston Marathon, whose name is, I don't know, you have a fucking computer in front of you. She just reran it this year.
Oh, like 50 years later.
The 50th anniversary. She ran the same number. She's a badass bitch in charge. She's awesome. She ran it 50 years later. I ran a 10K 4 years ago and I'm still talking about it. But if you see the pictures of the first Boston Marathon and it's this woman being physically like attacked by a man, that's Jock. He's bonkers.
Catherine Switzer.
An incredible person.
Kudos to her. Ran it at 70 this past year.
My God. I can barely make it down my stairs in the morning.
You did a 10K. I did a 5K. Couldn't get over that.
When did you do a 5K? Do you own athletic wear?
No. Saddest part.
Did you do it in jeans?
Once. I believe there was a lady in a stroller who was going faster than I was, or carrying her stroller faster than me.
Okay, to be fair, when I ran my 10K, I ran it in...
Don't look up my times.
No, God. I ran it 3 or 4 years ago in Uptown Chicago. There was it was on Pride weekend, and so my girlfriend and I ran it together. My dad ran it too, and he was disappointed that the shorts weren't gay enough. It was the weirdest thing, because they were just like lime green with a tiny rainbow, and he's like... Doesn't matter. I almost got lost at the end because it was a very small race, and I was so far behind that I think they started taking down the markers.
Sounds like something I would do.
Anyway, and I bring all of that up to say that women have been, big air quotes, protected by men because we're very delicate, which I think, would you say is a word you'd use to describe me?
Delicate?
Uh-huh.
Never.
What do you mean?
I know, no.
Look at this pose I'm doing.
No, I don't want to get in trouble.
So hysteria became, especially in the 19th century, sort of became a catch-all term for anything that happened to a woman that men found inconvenient. And the George Beard cataloged 75 pages of symptoms, or 75 symptoms, might have made a typo.
Being hysteric.
Of something that can be diagnosed as hysterics.
Oh
I have a few of the highlights if you would like to hear them.
Go for it.
Faintness, nervousness, sexual desire, insomnia. What?
So everyone's hysteric.
No, women. Fluid retention, heaviness in the abdomen, cramps. Shortness of breath, irritability, PMS. Loss of appetite for food or sex, and this is my favorite quote, a tendency to cause trouble. I knew you were in trouble. So, and he believed that this list was definitely incomplete.
Oh, yeah.
I will say the only good thing that came about it is likely this is why they invented the vibrator. So, like, big ups to weird Victorians.
Why? What does that have to do with this?
Oh, one of the cures for hysteria was masturbating women to orgasm, and the doctor's hands got tired.
Oh my God!
They invented them. No,
I know too much now.
No. The more you know, Hammett.
Yes.
Shooting star.
Hello, children listening to the show.
Oh, no! Why would
nice
you
job.
Me?
You've corrupted their minds.
Kids. Hey, kids. It's me, Jessica. Give yourself a lobotomy. You don't need to hear that. And all that. So, like, hysteria
Rewind this episode about 2 minutes and then earmuffs.
So... I guess my point is hysteria has always been a thing that's sort of like a barb to be thrown at women, that anytime you have an emotion, if you're angry or if you're sad or if anything, it's this sort of, oh, you're being hysterical. And that is
it's a put down on women.
It's anytime you have listen, I am in therapy right now, and 90% of my therapy sessions are my therapist, me saying, I did this and I overreacted. And she's like, you can have emotions. It's okay. Like, that's really a thing that I've dealt with my whole life, because I don't want to surprise you. I'm kind of an extrovert. And I've been told my whole life, like, you're being too dramatic and like your emotions are too much. And women, if they are too loud or too emotional or whatever, are told that like you're being too much, you need to be quieter, which is shockingly a thing I've heard a lot in my life. So to fling this particular insult, and whether it's intentional or not, I'm sure it isn't. I'm sure his vocabulary is limited enough that he doesn't necessarily understand the history behind calling somebody hysterical. I'm out of breath.
But it's not something he would ever say to a male colleague who got emotional.
No.
Like,
and she wasn't even getting him. I mean, I wouldn't describe her as emotional. I would describe her as impassioned.
Yeah. Talking about a subject that's worthy of it.
Yeah, she had fucking cancer. Like, I think she has the right to be like, guys, maybe we should protect. It's just this whole week, I have lost so much faith in humanity this week.
Did you see that the Senate, that group that is now working on the healthcare bill?
Oh, didn't they just go?
All men, 13. They didn't even bother to get one of the... There are Republican women in the Senate. Didn't ask any of them to help them with this one.
I thought they were like just going to scrap the House bill and start one from scratch. They'll
modify. They'll see what they can do. I don't know.
It's the lack of that fucking photo op in the. Here's my favorite thing. So I was on Facebook looking at like people criticizing, rightly so, the picture in the. So after they passed the bill through the House, all the Congress members, and like to be clear, passing it through the House does not make it anything. Like you're still
celebrating early.
Really spiking the football on like the 20-yard line. Do you get that sports reference?
I do. I do the sport.
So A, it was an inappropriate use of a photo op. B, this photo they took, and it was reasonably wide. It was maybe 15 people wide, just white dudes as far as the eye could see. And I was on CNN, and I have this thing that I always read the comments. So anybody who's ever said anything like mean about me, I've read it, and I probably cried about it. I'm not hysterical. So I was just reading through, and people were rightfully saying, like, what the fuck is going on? Where are the women? Where are the non-white people? And there were an alarming number of people who were like, this photo is cropped. If you pan out, there's 2 women in this crowd. And it's like, oh, sweetie, is the bar that low? Like,
they're
what?
literally relegated to the sidelines.
It's just the most, it's just, I can't.
My favorite thing about that photo op, when Obama signed Obamacare, he was surrounded by some Congress members like Pelosi and the other Democrats, but he was also, they included some people who were going to benefit from the healthcare bill.
Do you know why nobody was around who was going to benefit from the healthcare bill?
Why is that?
Because they don't exist.
Well, I was going to say the people who benefit from the healthcare bill
already in the photo op.
Yeah, they're the rich people. I got a story for you that I catalog in my head as Jessica Bates.
Oh no!
Because I know what your reaction is going to be, but it's a good story. Here's the background you need to know.
Do I need to refill my wine glass before this?
I wouldn't sip it while I'm telling you this story.
Oh God!
A few years ago, Prince William, Kate Middleton, they went on vacation in France. They have a place. They can do that. They're rich.
They seem nice.
It's a private home. You would think in a private home, even though it's them and they're globally famous.
Describe my face right now.
It's not good. They would have some measure of privacy. Kate Middleton, I guess, went sunbathing, topless, and paparazzi took pictures of her.
I've heard about that.
They published these photos in some French magazine, and the royal couple, is suing them, saying you had no right to take those pictures. It was a breach of our privacy. They're suing them for like $1.6 million, whatever. Here is the reaction from evangelist Franklin Graham.
Oh, no.
Wait,
there's another evangelist named Graham? Is he related to Lindsay?
Billy Graham's son.
Are they related to Lindsay?
No relation to the Senator Lindsay. But here's what Franklin Graham, the evangelist, said. I'm skipping most of what he wrote here because it doesn't really make a difference. We all appreciate our privacy, but we live in a high-tech digital age where it seems there's no privacy. Cameras are everywhere. Kate Middleton, of all people, should know this. She is followed by paparazzi all around the world. If you don't want topless pictures of yourself taken, it might be a good idea to keep your top on at the beach. Oh, you don't look happy right now. Oh, by the way, he added, God is always watching.
Oh, that motherfucker. God is always watching. I don't know why, but that's the shit that pisses me off. God is always watching. I shit earlier today. It's like, is that the level that we're raising it to?
What do you think he's going to do? Watch those starving kids in another
I regret
country?
that. Mom and Dad, if you're listening, I don't.
He has nothing else to do.
But I just
this idea that she's to blame.
So it's not even don't do lewd acts in public or don't go
anything
streaking. It's every moment of your life you need to be obsessed with your body and who might see it
and purity, even when you're married and you're an adult.
And like, let's not even get on to the whole like the free the nipple thing. That's kind of getting, because I'm super into that. But just fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. Yeah. Like, honestly,
that's the sort of slut shaming only Christian leaders tend to do.
Such specific slut shaming, because like it's like saying like, oh, you got out of the shower and you didn't like dive into like a head to toe towel. How fucking dare you, you slut? It's just garbage. Yeah. It's such.
It was.
Fuck.
This ends the Just Bait portion. And one more. This isn't so much Just Bait, but here's a question for you. Mm-hmm. This is a different story. What was Donald Trump's reaction after the Access Hollywood tape came out? What do you think his reaction was? Privately, because we didn't see it publicly. He released a statement that night, but immediately after it was released and he realized, oh shit, I said this. What do you think his reaction was?
Here's the thing. The thing that is in my head is not appropriate for those children listening.
Think of the children.
But I'm going to say it anyway. My reaction is that he probably masturbated to his own tape.
That is not what any report has said. However,
kids' earmuffs.
Here is what...
oh my God. I need to tweet that guy and tell him not to let his kids listen to this episode.
There are two reactions I want to share with you. One is from a Christian evangelist and a Christian talk show host, James Robeson. He is someone who said, I have talked to Donald Trump frequently during the campaign. And in fact, Robeson said, I talked to him right after that tape came out.
Oh God.
And here's what his reaction was.
Tell me.
Robeson said Trump was so embarrassed, so broken, so contrite, we could hardly talk. But he couldn't, James Robeson says this, he couldn't be publicly contrite because his advisors told him not to. They said it would make him look like a, quote, weepy Christian. So this is James Robeson's version of the story. Trump was so sad about this. Yes.
There's a lot to unpack there. Let's start at the end and work our way to the beginning. A weepy Christian?
Yes.
Nobody's ever accused Donald Trump of being a Christian of any stripe.
Yep, but he would have been a weepy Christian had he gone on, said, I'm so sorry for what I did.
What does that even mean, Hemant? A weepy Christian?
He's a pansy, that sort of thing. He's weak, and Christians wouldn't want to vote for him.
You can't be a guy who says, I'm going to grab her by the pussy, and then also be, modest. Fuck that noise. Fuck this whole administration.
Yes. That was Trump. That was Robeson's reaction. Trump was so sad and so sorry, but he wasn't allowed to show it.
And we all know it's garbage.
And none of us saw this reaction. This is all going off of this guy's word, James Robeson's word, that this is the reaction. Okay.
Why wouldn't I trust James Robeson?
This is what Robeson said back in, right after it happened, a week or so after it happened.
Yeah.
But then, this past weekend, the New York Times ran a kind of a puff piece on Ivanka Trump, which was basically about her role in the administration. That's whatever. You could have your thoughts on that all you want. But they also offered a different version of what happened immediately after the Access Hollywood tape, because you kind of want to know, what did Ivanka have to say about this if she's so, quote-unquote, pro-feminist or whatever?
No, I'm sorry.
I know she's...
Who said she was pro-feminist?
No one really said that, but here's what the reaction was on her end. I'm
sorry, really quick. If the words locker room talk are in this, I'm just gonna flip this table and all your recording equipment.
They are not.
Okay.
When the recording,
fucking lucky, Hemant.
This is the New York Times. When the recording finally showed he was wrong and Trump actually said the thing he said, I never said that. No, he said it. Mr. Trump's reaction.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Was that the order that somebody accused him and he said no?
And he said, I never said that. Then they're like, no, the videotape's out now. He's like, oh shit, I said that.
Okay, I was on vacation when that whole thing went down, so I sort of saw the aftermath.
Mr. Trump's reaction was grudging. He agreed to say he was sorry if anyone was offended.
His daughter said that?
No. Trump said this. All right, I'll say sorry if you're offended by this. And his advisor said, dude, that's not going to be enough. You got to do more than that. And then
It's just work. I need to work on a Trump impression.
More
I feel like that
important,
would bring a lot to this podcast.
supposedly Ivanka
It's just
said,
words.
no, you have to give a full apology. What you did is going to upset a lot of women. She knows that. Hold on. She said, you're going to upset a lot of women. It's going to make me look bad, I'm sure. But like,
She's got shoes to
she
sell.
said, you got to apologize. As she spoke, quote the New York Times, Mr. Trump remained unyielding. His daughter's eyes welled with tears, her face reddened, and she hurried out in frustration. So the New York Times account of this, which I gotta say, I kind of trust because they have good sources, is to say Trump did not apologize.
I heard
He
from a
didn't
Reliance source that
want
they're
to.
failing.
I know. He didn't want to apologize. Even when Ivanka said, you have to apologize, he's like, I don't really want to.
I think beyond whether or not he needed to apologize, I don't think he understood what he said that was wrong.
No, I
And I don't think he did
Which
just to this minute.
Which feeds into the New York Times version of the story, which said he didn't think there was anything to apologize for. It's only when people pressured him to do it, and even then he was reluctant. But the amazing thing to me is, meanwhile, for months now, this Christian right guy, James Robison, has been saying the opposite.
Wait.
Robison said, no, Trump felt horrible.
Hammett, are you trying to imply
Yes, I am.
that a Christian person is not as morally sound as he would have us think? Is that what you're saying to me?
I've actually been on James Robison's show when the eBay book came out.
Oh, really?
And the funniest thing about it, he was fine. He was nice to me and everything. We had dinner with his staff before the show.
the fuck out of town.
As everyone does. We sat in a big room. They all prayed beforehand, and we all ate together. And this is like 2004-ish. There were the posters of George W. Bush on the wall, because Robison also talked to George W. Bush all the time.
Yeah.
Just like, I am so out of place here.
No,
The cool part about it is I knew we were doing the taping, and they were like, you can invite people to the taping. So I put out a call, and there were a bunch of atheists in the audience who were totally respectful and fine.
Yeah.
But it was just at the end of the show, after taping was done, Robison's like, it's a small TV audience, like very small audience. But he's like, how many of you here are atheists? And like most of the room hands shoot up.
Nice.
So funny. Anyway, I do have a totally different story for you.
Okay, I have one more on my list. How
All
many
right.
do you have left?
I got a bunch. We don't have to do all of them.
No, listen, I have nothing to do. It's Friday night. This is my night.
It's all good. Let's do this one because it's just funny. Christian apologist, Alex McFarland. You don't know the guy, but he's a Christian apologist. He wrote a list of 10 reasons that he thinks millennials, which let's say just people under 30, are no longer as religious as they used to be.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought
like,
he was going to blame them for something, because millennials have really caught a lot of slack about being blamed. Okay,
Yes.
Why? So people under 30 aren't religious.
Yeah, why aren't millennials religious? He's trying to answer that question.
Hammett calling me. I
No.
have one. Hammett.
Yes.
Is it because God doesn't exist?
He didn't mention that reason.
It would. Okay.
That's a good answer.
You reread the list. Make sure it wasn't there.
It's not in there.
Okay.
Trust me on this one. So he offered his 10 reasons.
Oh, Christ.
Let's go through some of these reasons.
Can't wait.
We don't have to spend time on this, but I just want to read through his small list here.
Sure.
1, the mindset of digital natives is very much separate from other generations.
Doesn't mean anything. Continue.
What he means by that is that young people have no brand loyalty. Like, we find one thing that we like and then we move on to the next. Which, I don't know. To me, that doesn't make sense, because if the brand...
It makes sense, but it doesn't also... Like,
I don't have to be committed to a brand.
That's exactly
if it
right.
Sucks, I'll move on to another one.
He obviously is phrasing that as like a bad thing, that people have no loyalty. But it's the same thing was when you talk about like, millennials jump from job to job because they have no loyalty to their employer. Like, loyalty works both ways, buddy. Like, pensions aren't a thing anymore. And if I can go somewhere else and make $10,000 more, then like later days.
Right. If these churches aren't doing it for you, leave. Number 2, breakdown of the family.
Of course.
Because
Continue.
atheists
We don't need to get
don't
into
have
that.
families. Number 3, militant secularism.
Militant? I mean, that's fair. I am militant and I am secularist.
Which really,
You got
militant's
me.
the word they use to describe anyone who's just passionate about things they don't agree with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is a respectable platform.
Like, if we're militant, our army is our army sucks.
Yeah,
it's
we really
small.
need to get that together.
Yes, it's vocal,
Yeah.
but like they get churches on every block, and Congress is full of Christians.
And we're all kind of nerdy and like weak. Definitely, we're basement dwellers.
This is
sure.
like the comics online. It's like, what does a militant, like a radical Islam, look like? They're flying a plane into a building. Radical Christians shooting an abortion doctor. Radical atheists like coffee. Here's a book in my hand.
Saying vaguely passive aggressive things on the internet.
You have to talk
we
with
hear
a British
you guys with your
talk with a British accent like Dawkins, then you're a militant atheist. Number 4,
Yeah.
lack of spiritual authenticity among adults because we have no religious role models who live out their faith.
Hot take. That sentence didn't mean anything.
See, my problem is it's not the lack of religious role models. It's that I see people who claim to be Christian.
No, you're right.
And when they act like the Christians that they claim to be, we're not taking them out of context or anything. A lot of them are jerks. Look at what they're doing with their commitment to their faith.
Well, and I feel like it tends to go one of two. And of course, there are very religious people who are also very moral, but things that make headlines tend to go one of two ways. Either what's happening right now with the healthcare and like fuck poor people, and it's like, hey, Jesus was super into poor people. Maybe let's
not
revisit
do that if we're Christian.
And the other thing is like they're fucking their pool keeper or whatever. Like they're
the scandals.
They're very much like aggressively committing sins, not just like wallpapering their morals. They're just like, hey,
so even
people
they
shouldn't
don't
be
care
gay,
about. They
and
don't
they're
care
like,
about their morals.
No.
Number 5, the church's cultural influence has diminished.
Yes.
I
Nailed
said
it.
the same thing. I think he has that right. But I don't think it's our fault it's diminished. It's their fault it's diminished.
I mean, I don't think he's blaming us for that.
Yeah,
This feels a little introspective.
All right.
I mean, I think some of them are interesting.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
there's
that's
a
a
lack
fair
of
one.
religious role models. Yeah, you're right.
Number 6, pervasive cultural abandonment of morality.
Hey, guess what? Every generation ever has said that about the generation that's younger than them.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about what we said about Gen Xers and what they said about baby boomers, everybody hates kids. That's just what's happening, guys. Everybody hates kids.
Yeah.
Sorry, they're younger than you. Fucking deal with it.
And also what I don't get is the abandonment of morality. What is Christian morality? Because if you ask like the hardcore evangelical types that make these silly arguments, like what? They're pro-life, they're for the death penalty, they're against gay marriage, they want their guns to shoot everything, they like block science. I mean, that's...
No, it really...
What sort of morality are we abandoning?
Right. And
like, who's the moral side
I think
here?
that the pro-life movement, I guess I would say, or the pro-life opinion, is becoming really untenable because the only people who are rabidly anti-abortion who claim to be pro-life are the same people who are willing to take away welfare and healthcare from people who really need it.
Right. You can't be against abortion and then say, we're not going to help you once it's born.
Right. Because what that traces back to, and trust me, I sometimes argue with people on the internet, it always comes back to, well, you shouldn't have had sex. So that's what it comes back to. And so it's not about whether you had premarital sex or whatever. It's if you don't actively want to have a kiddo right now, you shouldn't ever have sex.
Yep.
And
Procreation only.
And it's like it's a garbage way to view the world. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not relate. And nobody's doing it. I shouldn't say nobody. That's not a fair thing to say. There are
Even
people.
they're not. Yeah. Number 7, intellectual skepticism.
Yes, correct. Got it. Nailed it.
Is he saying critical thinking is a problem?
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, it is. If you want people to be Christians, you can't have them like read the Bible and think about it too much.
Yeah. Number 8, the rise of a fad called atheism. Basically, the new atheism. We're like
the Fab Four of the 21st century.
We're Crystal Pepsi.
We're the hula hoops.
That's the thing, like the new atheism, if you want to call it that. Like, I get that there was a rise in
Jesus
popularity
Christ.
for a little while, but like, atheism isn't new. It's been around for a couple millennia
But the
here.
internet is new.
The internet is new. Yeah. Number 9, our new God, tolerance be thy name. He's upset at tolerance.
Okay, I'm so glad you brought this up because the thing that really, really... Okay, so I'm obviously a liberal person. I'm obviously a Democrat. With absolute sincerity, and I know the way I yell doesn't make it sound like. I really want to see other points of view. I sincerely do, because I think that the world is better off when it's okay if we disagree, but like, let's kind of figure out what we disagree upon. So, which is why I think like the current GOP is garbage, because like I don't want to fight about whether or not I should get birth control anymore. Sure. I'm done with that fight. If you want to fight about what's the best way to address homelessness, and you think small government and I think government subsidy, that's a conversation worth having. They don't exist. But
are gay people?
Yeah.
That's what he's upset about. Liberals are too tolerant. These radical atheist fad.
And so when I hear phrases like social justice warrior or people are too tolerant or whatever, to me, what I hear is me having to change a term is such an inconvenience to me that it doesn't matter that it like affects the way your whole life lives. Whole life lives?
Sure.
But that's honestly...
Like,
that's
you want me to call you by this pronoun?
Right.
How dare you?
Right.
Like, is this really inconveniencing you that much?
And it's a thing that really... And I've gotten in debates with people because there's a whole thing... I listen to My Favorite Murder, and they talk about... and a lot of murder victims are sex workers. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they're referred to as prostitutes, and the preferred nomenclature is sex worker. Mm-hmm. Because when you hear the word prostitute and you hear the word whore or hooker or whatever, there's a lot of connotation there. And there's a lot of, you hear a prostitute gets killed and you don't give a shit. Sex worker gives them a little more agency. And people are like mad about that. And that's a point of view I will never understand, of like, hey, like trans people don't want you to call them like tranny or whatever. Right. Like, that's not cool, and people are mad. Like, why? What are you
and
losing?
They want to pee in the right bathroom. Why is this a problem?
Like
for
you've ever fucking or God, this is a little tangential. Or my favorite fucking thing is when women talk about like, hey, we're paid less, or hey, we're underrepresented, or hey, the pockets of my blazer are an inch thick, and that's not a pocket. That's what I think. I smashed this very phone, 4 times in the last 2 months because I wear blazers to work. They have 2-inch pockets. It's garbage. They fall out.
I'll take your word on this.
It's patriarchy. Keep me from having pockets. Anyway, that's a real Facebook argument I got into. I'm not proud of it. But I forgot where I was going.
Number 10. Number 10.
I don't know.
You can tell me later if I have to edit this out. Number 10, the commonly defiant posture of young adulthood. The rebels. The kids are rebels is what he's upset about.
Yeah, rebels are new to the 21st century.
They never existed.
They never existed before. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's why millennials are rebellious. What you got? I got another one.
Yeah, I've got one more. I think I had another one, but
yeah.
My office has Microsoft Word. We don't have Google Docs, so it doesn't autosave, and I'm not used to that yet. So I tweeted about this the other day because it enraged me. So there's a chess tournament happening. Do you know what this is?
Of course I know what this is.
God damn it. One of these days...
What do I do all day?
That's true. I do have a job.
I know.
That I have to go to and drive to. So there's a chess tournament in Malaysia, and a young woman, and she's a girl. She's a 12-year-old girl. She's not been named for privacy reasons, but apparently she's in this chess tournament and she's like kicking ass and taking names because she's awesome. I love her. I don't know anything about her, but she's my hero. An official came up to her and said that her dress was too seductive.
What was she wearing?
And
does it matter?
But let's talk about that in a second. But because of this, she ultimately was forced to drop out of the competition.
Oh God.
So, and actually, this is a thing I wrote down because part of me wants to be like, well, she's wearing XYZ. What is that? You know, like
who cares?
It's a perfect.
It's chess.
It's
You're
chess.
not even
but
staring
like, part
at
of me
your
wants to say
opponent.
like it was a very conservative dress. It was knee length. It had this. It had that. But part of me wants to say like it doesn't fucking matter if you're sexualizing a 12. If you're saying that a 12-year-old isn't.
If she was wearing a bikini, it's
isn't
messed
just
up.
too revealing. Isn't just inappropriate, but is seductive. That is projection. That is an adult man looking at a 12-year-old girl playing chess and assigning like
you're
sexuality.
a sexual object.
It's fucked fucked. It's completely fucked. And for the record, and I really thought about, like, it doesn't matter what she was wearing, but for the record, she was wearing like a knee-length drop-waisted dress. It was not.
She was showing off her ankles. That's what they're mad about.
She it was very like a 20s flapper style. So it was straight. It wasn't even like, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
And she had like she had sleeves and like cap
she
sleeves.
She was wearing
and
what 12-year-olds wear.
She was wearing a dress that wouldn't have, like, I wouldn't bat an eye.
Where was this taking place?
Malaysia. Which I don't pretend to know anything about the culture there, so I don't want to make assertions. So the event's chief arbiter told the competitor and her mother that the girl's dress was too seductive for the event and claimed it was a temptation from a certain angle far, far away. And that's from Huffington Post, that quote. The mom's made an apology. She's freaking the fuck out correctly. And so I was doing a little bit of poking around on this in the comment section where I'm most at home and hate myself the most. And there's a lot of people saying that, and I don't know if this is based in anything, but people are saying, oh, this is very typical of this particular circuit or I don't know what they were implying, but that, oh, this girl was doing really well and beating the boys, and so they needed to knock her out and come. And I honestly can't decide which is worse.
Yeah.
Like
I kind of like the idea that she was doing too good and we needed to find a way to get rid of her.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like, damn, she must be really kicking your ass.
That's a little more Ocean's 11 of it, I guess. But it's
devious.
But this idea of sexualizing young women is really messed up. And
Christians do it too with their purity balls and all that stuff.
God, the Christians love to sexualize people. Well, and it's sexualizing people, and especially young girls. This shit starts so early. I've seen like how many like onesies have you seen of like little boys that have like future heartbreak, or like I've seen a onesie that says like watch out ladies or something like that. It's like deeply inappropriate. And or this weird thing about dads being obsessed with whether or not their kids date, their daughters date, and like it's all just super sexualizing and inappropriate and like doesn't give.
I've seen when we go shopping, like sometimes they have like the kids' underwear or something with weird messages. It's like, why are you doing that?
What weird messages? Tell me right now.
I can't remember, but they're the type of sexually type of things.
So fucking gross.
Like, it would be weird to see on an older person, much less. Why is this like on a child's underwear?
Yeah,
it's
I don't.
Weird.
And
I don't want to go shopping in this section anymore.
Yeah, and like obviously, like being gender normative has it's not great. But when you get to the point that you're like assigning, like you're saying, it just
it's weird.
I just hate everything.
Here is one for you.
Okay,
totally changing the script here. There's a Christian college.
You flip the script. You don't change the script.
Ever. If you get what? Yeah. There's a college in North Carolina. It's a Christian college. It's called, I think, Montreat.
In North Carolina?
Yeah. Montreat College. I hope I'm saying it right.
You aren't.
But it's a Christian school. Tweet that
up. He's Emmett Menta. Tweet at him the correct pronunciation, please.
This is one of those schools where the faculty, staff, and students have to sign like a faith statement saying, you know, they really are Christian in order to go there. And if you don't follow their beliefs, they could kick you out. They're a private school. They have a right to do that. That's not a big deal.
I mean, I would say
not a big deal.
It's not.
They have a right to do it.
It's not germane to what we're talking about.
Well, here's what they changed. They used to say we oppose. Sorry, I'm going to make sure I get this right. They used to say they support Christian beliefs, and that's not a big deal. But they had a rule change. And now they have to sign a policy that says we explicitly oppose gay marriage.
Oh, no.
This wasn't part of the deal before. It was kind of implied that when you're in this type of Christian environment, you would oppose it. But here's the thing. And some professors, some faculty members...
Spill my wine at a time like this.
Nothing was spilled. Some faculty members were like, maybe we agree with you and stuff already on the issue, but why do we have to sign that as part of our statement? And here's their argument. And this makes sense to me.
Oh.
It makes sense to sign a document that says we are Christian, we believe Christ, died for our sins, all that stuff. It's pertinent to their salvation in their minds. But something like this, gay marriage, is currently being debated among Christians even. Now, not in the rest of the world.
Not among
where
Christians even, like
not
just among Christians at this point.
At this type of school, at this type of evangelical school.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. This is a debate they are having. Not all Christians believe that the Bible mandates, gay marriage is bad.
Do they not believe that because it literally doesn't say that, or
because their argument is the Bible doesn't have anything to say about this. Mm-hmm. The reason people oppose it in the Christian world is a matter of interpretation. Mm-hmm. We don't have to buy into that interpretation
to be a good Christian.
So we don't get why you're making us sign a statement
that's garbage
about something that is not like a mandatory part of the mandatory Christian checklist.
Right.
And the funny thing is, like, if you ask someone like Ken Ham, the creationist, if I accept evolution and I am a Christian, am I like a bad Christian? Am I not going to go to heaven because I don't buy into creationism? Ken Ham will be the first to tell you, no, that's fine. You can still get to heaven.
Wait, really?
Yeah, because creationism and accepting the 6-day young earth creationism, that is not a matter of salvation. Ken Ham's argument is, I think if you don't understand this, it destroys your foundation for the rest of the Bible. Okay, that's his interpretation of it. But he'll say, like, I think you're wrong if you accept evolution.
Yeah.
But we're all Christians. That's his perspective. And in fact, there was a Christian college like a year ago, I believe. This is Bryan College in Dayton, Tennessee, where the Scopes Monkey trial happened.
Oh, sure.
Where they actually changed their rules to say faculty members have to sign a statement saying not that God created the universe, which used to be part of the thing, but that God created the universe in a literal 6 days. And all humanity, I'm quoting here, all humanity is descended from Adam and Eve. Like, they really existed. It's young earth creationism. And some of the faculty members there were like, why do we have to agree to that as a requirement to work here?
I mean, wouldn't you say it's sort of a signal that Christianity is not doing super great?
Because?
Because 20 years ago, they could be like, you work here and you believe that, the earth is created by God. And that was enough. And now
they're getting more specific.
They're closing ranks, I guess is how I would say it. Like, they're galvanizing.
Yeah, and they are tightening their circle and making sure that only the true believers are among us.
Which is interesting, because one would think that if they're worried about their numbers, which they are,
they would open up.
They would loosen it up and be like, "Hey, if you don't believe in a literal 7-day creation story, that's fine as long because generally it almost always comes back to like if you believe Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior or whatever."
And that is these faculty members' arguments. Like, let us believe in the Jesus thing. That makes sense in a statement of faith. But when you're saying we have to believe in things that we don't have to believe in,
right?
You're
and
going
to what
too
end?
far.
Like, what are you gaining out of this?
I don't know. And a lot of them...
it's just control. It feels just like control.
Yeah. Oh, it is. And several of them decided to resign or try to find a different Christian college to go to. And yeah, more power to them for doing that. And here's what it all says to me. There are certain topics that these administrators feel is so off limits, they do not want you to think critically about it, even when you are in their Christian bubble. Yeah. Like, LGBT rights, homosexuality, they don't want you to think about it or even hold any idea that there may be some reason behind gay rights.
It's feeling more, and we can talk for years about like the difference between a cult and a religion, but it's starting to feel more culty every day in terms of these are the tenets you have to abide by, and we have to be part of this little core. And you have to listen to this one thing, as opposed to like, hey, live your life and just keep this in your heart or whatever they're saying. Like, that's how cults function, is suck everybody in, and you have to outright reject your family or anybody who disagrees with you or anybody who says anything. That's how cults work. Yeah. That's how they get you.
Don't think at our school. Just let us do the thinking for you.
Yeah, it's a school. God.
I know. And this is one of the questions I have. Like, what is the point of a school? What's the point of a university if you're not allowed to have these conversations that, at least in the Christian world, this is apparently controversial, but like not in the real world, but in their bubble, this is controversial. And yet the Christian administrators are saying, don't ask us about this. Don't question this. Don't think about it.
I mean, Dinesh Hotel worked for a long time really well in the military, so I respect that.
And some of these students aren't I mean, a lot of people might be like, well, if you're a student and you're going there, whatever, suck it up and do it. But a lot of these kids are going there because their parents are making them. Their parents are paying for the tuition. They don't get a choice in the matter.
Yeah.
And for them to basically be told, nope, don't question this. Like, how far does that stretch?
I mean,
when does the administration
think,
say these are legit controversies?
Right.
Who are they to say?
And don't you think it also like delegitimizes what it means to like commit to something?
Commit to...
So they're committing to say, like, this is the thing I believe.
Yeah.
If you're forced into committing to a thing, then your word means nothing.
Right. You can't walk out of there saying, I believe in young earth creationism or I oppose gay marriage when the other options weren't even... You would have been kicked out of school if you even thought about the other option.
Well, to me, it's like, okay, even if I don't believe this, I'm forced to sign something. So, like, I am being taught at the age of 18 that, like, my signature and my word are meaningless, and I don't know. It's just it's not good. It's not great, Hammond. It's not great.
I got one last story for you. Okay. This is an update on. We talked last week or the week before about Athena Salman. She was the Arizona state representative.
I tried to find her tweets. I couldn't find them.
Oh, we'll find her.
Okay.
But State Rep Athena Salman, she gave that secular invocation in Arizona because she's an atheist.
She's a hero.
The next day, like a Christian colleague of hers gave an additional...
I thought it was the same day.
Or maybe the same day. Gave an additional Christian prayer because he had to make up for the one she gave.
Well, she done fucked up.
I know. Well, here's the upside to it. This past week, maybe the week before, there was a state rep, Mark Cardenas, who invited a United Methodist minister, David Felton, to give the invocation. This is how it works.
Methodists are the one that are... Oh, no, I'm thinking of Unitarian that are just kind of...
Unitarians are cool.
Yeah.
They believe whatever the hell
Methodists
you want.
Still?
Methodists, they're big. Don't ask me to give you the specifics there. But
dude, your entire job is writing about religion. How is this not a thing in your
I write about
house?
it escapes my head, and I move on. But this guy's a United Methodist minister. He's a Methodist. He was invited to deliver the invocation. But in solidarity with Athena Salman, remember what they said to Athena Salman, which is that you are not acknowledging a higher power.
Yeah.
And that's why you're in trouble, young lady, is what they basically said to her. So David Felton's like, well, I'm a minister, but you know what? In solidarity with her, I'm not going to reference a higher power either. So he says, good morning. I invite you to center yourselves in a manner that reflects your traditional worldview, how good it is to be alive at the very end of his thing.
David Felton, you're a hero.
At the very end of his invocation, he said, blah, 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 do good. In so doing, may peace, salam, shalom be our way in the world. May it be so. It sounds religious, but it's not religious.
But it's not, well, and even if you argue it's religious, it's multi-religious.
It's
not.
And he did not say pray to a higher power.
Was there any blowback?
Do you think anyone gave him blowback? Let me put the key word in that sentence.
At this point,
key word in that sentence. Him. Do you think they said anything to this guy?
Oh, he seems like a nice guy.
They said nothing. And so he emailed me and he said certain House members...
He did?
He was very nice about it. Yeah, he said certain House members were happy to rebuke a person who is a young female humanist and a member of a racial minority. But when a white male... he's referring to Athena.
But no, what ethnicity is Athena? I didn't know. She was...
I think Greek. I don't know.
Oh,
I should know this. But a member of... I don't know racial minority. I'm sorry. I don't know. Hispanic, maybe? I don't know. Just because
I guess it's not
that's the
germane,
makeup
too.
in there. It's not germane. But when a white male clergy person from a mainline church breaks the rules, I get a pass. He totally recognized it.
Oh my God, does he want to come over to my house right now and record with us? He seems like a treasure.
He was awesome. And kudos to Mark Cardenas, who invited this guy, who actually said, personally, I'm Catholic, said the state rep. But I asked Reverend Felton to give a secular invocation because that's the most inclusive. It's applicable to all of us.
People can be nice and chill.
I know. So that was and by the way, there's a really cute picture of Felton and Athena outside after he gave his invocation.
Oh my God. He looks like a cartoon character of a priest. Like, he's so cute.
He's exactly like the central casting of a priest.
Casting. Yeah. He's got like salt and pepper hair and is like just an affable looking white guy.
He's awesome. So anyway, that's a nice way. And
are we going to end this podcast on a nice note for the first time in our fucking run?
Oh, hey, no, I got more stories.
You motherfucker.
Did you know the Girl Scouts can't sell cookies because they support abortion? I can do that one or not.
Wait.
In Kansas City, we have to end this on a down note.
No, you keep talking.
I'll keep talking. the Kansas City Archdiocese has said we are no longer supporting Girl Scout troops because a fellow archbishop says those cookies fund abortions. So every time, I guess, you take a bite of a Thin Mint, a fetus dies.
Cool, good news. I have a box of Girl Scout cookies in my pantry, and I'm going to give one to Hammett.
Thank you.
And one to me.
Ooh, these are ones I don't have at home.
Yeah, they're s'mores.
Oh, nice.
I bought them outside. I really wanted them, and I didn't have any cash, and my husband did have cash.
These are pretty good.
Yeah, they're really good. They're new. Anyway, I wasn't listening to you. I was abortatastic?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know what my next tattoo is.
There you go. Yeah, so this archdiocese says we're not going to host any Girl Scout troops. We're not going to help them out. And I think they also said you can't sell cookies in our churches.
That feels like just a loss on the church's part.
Yeah, you would think so. This, by the way, here's the funny thing. It's not funny at all. But the reason the Kansas City Archdiocese is doing this at all is because there's this other archbishop of St. Louis, Robert Carlson, who started this whole don't support the Girl Scouts, they fund abortions. His argument is that when you give cookies to the Girl Scouts funds various groups, one of which has something, I think one of which was connected to, like, they provide birth control and mammograms and general health screenings and abortion services. It's kind of like the Girl Scouts supports a group like Planned Parenthood or something with some of the funds that they do, but I don't think it was Planned Parenthood. But anyway, I'm sorry. They helped the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, which is an organization, this guy said, is tied to the International Planned Parenthood. But here's the thing about this guy, Robert Carlson.
That cookie was really good.
And I'm still eating it. A couple years ago, he was invited. He had to give testimony. He had to give a deposition because a priest under his leadership in the 70s was accused of having sex with a little boy. And during this deposition, they basically wanted to know, did you know this was happening? And what steps did you take when people reported it? That's what they wanted to ask this guy, right?
Of course.
They asked him, did you know pedophilia was a crime when all this was happening? His response, I'm not sure whether I knew it was a crime or not. I understand today it's a crime. So he didn't know pedophilia was wrong back then, and he didn't take action, swift action, against this priest who molested a kid, but he has the moral authority to say Girl Scouts, can't be supported because they sell cookies, because they're girls, and they're not, like, out there advocating for abortions.
At what point are people like you and I not necessary to put, like, a spin on it? Like, hey, do you see the hypocrisy here? Like, at what point can we just let people talk for themselves?
By the way, the Girl Scouts were like, we don't have a relationship with Planned Parenthood. It's not we support them or don't. We just don't.
Literally fuck off. Like, get the fuck out of my place. I hate.
And for some reason, it's not just the Catholic Church doing this. There was an evangelical pastor, Kevin Swanson, who once said, like, he didn't want to buy Girl Scout cookies because they, quote, support lesbianism.
Oh, yeah, I remember when that happened. I think I bought, like, 6 boxes that year.
Yeah. Here's a question. If you're part of the Catholic Church, why? Why do you support a church that does stuff like this? Especially if you're directly in the Kansas City or St. Louis Archdiocese and you see this is your leadership. I'm not saying you have to give up believing in God. That's not going to happen just because I'm like, don't like this guy.
And I don't care if you believe in God or not.
But why are you supporting these people?
I completely... like.
Buy some goddamn cookies.
Oh, they're so good. Yeah, chew right in the microphone. People really like that.
It's good.
Isn't it good? Yeah. They're s'mores. Did I say that already? Anyway, I think the thing that gets under my skin the most is this sort of this hypocritical pro-life garbage. And I've literally already said it in this episode, but I have no problem. I don't think this can be stated enough by myself, or not that I speak for you, but, like, I really don't care if people believe in God or not. I really could not.
Yeah, it's a low priority for me.
I could not care. And people talk a lot about, like, conversion tactics, and, like, I think there is a space for those. And I think those people, what they're doing is good and well-meaning and important. It's not, for me, a thing that I really care about. I could not care. Like, you go in your house and you do whatever you want to do. If you don't want to eat meat on Fridays during Lent, like, that's your jam, dude.
Yeah.
did it come because like fish sales were down in I think Ireland, and so they said no meat on Fridays? Yeah, probably. But if you want to incorporate that into your life, God bless.
It's the effects of all this stuff.
Right. It is anybody trying to shove anything down my throat or pretend that you have the moral high ground just because you're
not better because you're doing
not
all
better.
these things.
Just because you get together and like you have the discipline to get up early on Sundays and go to church doesn't mean you're more moral than I am. It's a thing that's exhausting, and I feel like how can you say you're pro-life and not care about children who actually exist?
As long as they're not adopted by gay people.
It's just
they can't have welfare, health care.
The welfare thing
forget
is
it.
garbage. Because again, it comes back to like, well, you shouldn't have had sex. Like, okay, that's not how the world we're living in works. As soon as the kid is born, it's their fault or something. If you think you're pro-life and you supported this most recent healthcare,
it makes no sense.
Garbage pile. Yeah. It's like, take a good long look in the mirror and tell me what you really care about.
I hope it comes back to bite the ass of, not just the Republicans, but like
mostly the Republicans.
This is a religious right. This is something they pushed for.
Right.
This is something their representatives that they wanted elected.
This is what your morals
This is what
are.
they got from it. So they own this. Are people going to leave the church because they recognize this is political? This isn't about serving God. This is just hypocrisy. And like, we are not living up to
hunger.
How do you stand? I mean, we asked this how do you support Donald Trump when all this is going on? But how do you support all these actions too? Because there's nothing, if Jesus said, Anna Marie Cox or something on Twitter, like, Jesus said, love the poor, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
where is that in all of
and
this?
I feel like I say this in every episode of like, there was like one little line, like throwaway line about like a man should not lie with another man as with a woman in like one little chunk of Corinthians ?
Leviticus.
Mm-hmm. My bad, guys. But like,
along with the same thing that said,
"Don't into the microphone."
Sorry.
We're gonna get tweets.
I'm done with s'mores now. Along with the same passages that said, don't mix the fibers.
Right. Don't mix the fibers. This shellfish thing. But like, literally, Jesus's only thing was to feed the poor. Like that was all he was there to do.
Love each other, feed the poor.
Love each other, feed the poor. And it's like, how is this lost? How did this get lost? Because this seems like such a basic tenet.
Yeah.
And if people, and what's the Gandhi quote? Like, I love your Christ. Why are Christians not more like your
Somewhere,
Christ?
yeah.
No, I think I said it exactly how he said it. I'm basically
just like that. And then he took a sip of wine.
You just took a sip of wine.
It's
I didn't
good.
even.
With s'mores.
Right? It just seems, if you're going to say you're a believer in Christ, like, he was pretty fucking clear about that.
What would Jesus do?
Garbage.
Not this.
Not any of this. And the whole thing about how, like, Democrat, like, because the way the parties have existed in the course of America, that, like, the Democrats were the pro-slavery party. Like, yeah, you're right. But that that's in no way relevant to, like, do you think Abraham Lincoln would be a modern day Republican? Do you think that's how...
I'm surprised modern day Republicans are modern day Republicans.
Like a puppy, like attracted to light that like, it says Republicans. That's the thing I need. And doesn't use like a lick of critical thinking to, am I ranting?
Yeah, it's all right.'re done.
Okay.
So thanks for listening. We'll be back next week, I'm sure.
We're good at wrapping these up.
Sure. We do transitions.
Oh my God. Nail them every time.
Thanks for listening. If you are interested in supporting, patreon.com/friendly atheist podcast.
Yeah.
And our Twitter
Can I tell you, when you were
feeds.
talking about asking people to donate, my palms started sweating immediately because it makes me
Creepy.
deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to ask.
It
but
is.
hey, if you like it.
But we do.
It's okay. You don't have to
carve
support
out
me.
a lot of time
Support this.
in our week to do this.
We do.
And it's a thing I love. And I want to keep doing it.
Yeah, and we'll figure out ways to keep making it better. My Twitter
I'm sorry,
is
this is
at
peak
Haven't Meta.
podcasting. I'm at Blueberry, BLUEBURE.
Thanks for your feedback. We like it. It's fun.
Yeah, tweet. Our email is friendlyatheistpodcast@gmail. You guys have been sending. I've gotten some incredible emails. I got some.
One of them said stop talking about feministy stuff.
Oh, yeah. Hey, guy, fuck off. I'm here forever. Also, somebody asked me to get fired. You can't fire me. That's not how podcasts work. That's not how the world works. Tweena, I have so much fun talking to people.
Yeah.
Like when I'm in the middle of my like garbage work day, when I'm wearing it's not true. I have a perfectly nice job, but I'm like wearing a blazer and heels and really rethinking my priorities. And I get like a really nice, somebody tweets at me a drinking game that they made up based off how much I scream. Like it's great. I really appreciate you guys being out there.
Thanks all.
And yeah, when you say mean things about me, I read them and cry. So think about that.
We'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Bye.